Hey y'all, Kirby Ash here. It's been a while. It's been a while since I made a video for my Stepmomma channel, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is impromptu, but let me just start out by saying I kind of want to start a show or a video series called How Do You Have Grace for That? And I think a lot of you step parents would probably understand what I'm coming from. Again, before I get into this, this is not written out, this is not planned, but before I get into it, especially because it's not planned, I want to say that I'm speaking from a place of being a full-time step parent, that I have filled the role of mom for my stepson, that biological mom is in a world of being lost and does not seem to, well, we'll get into that, but she's not really in the picture. She's in a different state. She doesn't really have much contact. So, you know, this is not a blended family video. This is not a video series on, you know, how to be the perfect blended family and how to love your stepchildren when you have them every other weekend or every other week. And I don't know what that's like. So I will never speak to that. I will say that across the board, I think being a step parent is such a beautiful opportunity to see a child and to love a child in a different way. But mainly, especially for what I'm about to share, this is not about bashing any parents, any step parents, any biological parents, any adopted parents. This is not about bashing parents, ever. But this is also not about living with another parent that you're trying to co-parent with. This is from a step parent that stepped into a full-time mama role. And that's what I am, and I love it. I love it. It's hard, it's difficult, but I love it. And so I think everyone has gathered from my previous videos, if you've seen them, that my stepson is in counseling and he's gone through a lot of trauma in his life, and he's doing amazing. He's doing amazing. Y'all, God is so good. If you ever question how good God is or if he can heal, watch it happen in a child. Watch the healing process that God does. It's unbelievable. It reminds me that this is how we're created. This is what is meant to happen, that, you know what, traumas are going to happen and hardship is going to happen and things are going to happen to us as kids that never should have. But if we had a parent there or someone there to say, hey, God's going to heal this and let's get you in the right place and let's get you to the person you can talk about, then what unfolds there is absolutely amazing. I'm sitting back in awe because of it, seriously. That's for another video. The reason I wanted to title this one, and I don't even know if I'm going to end up titling it this or not, impromptu, like I said, but like, how do you have grace for that, is because I've reached a new level of not being able to understand from a parent to a parent, or a new level of someone being that lost and someone being that trapped that it doesn't make sense to me. And so I had to get on my knees and go, okay, God, how do I have grace for this? And I want to share this with you guys, especially if you're someone in a similar situation as ours. You need to know it's hard. It's hard. So, you know, my stepson has been through lots of trauma, and it has recently come out the full extent, and probably not even the full extent. We may never know. But some things that even needed legal action, and we have full custody of him, so it wasn't anything like that, but it was, now that we know these things, we are responsible. We're responsible to the information we know, and we have to report it. We have to, and his counselor has to. And so involving the legal system again is scary and hard, and especially with the town that he was in, they let him down a lot, they let us down a lot, but we had to just know that's what we're supposed to do and give it to the Lord. So that opened up this whole area where I thought, you know what, here's a moment that if his biological mama can see this as an opportunity that we can all start fresh, can see this as an opportunity of a clean slate. Let's get it out. Let's get it out in the open. Let's start over. then maybe this is where redemption happens. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. My heart was like, crash. That's not what happened at all. And here's the thing. I sometimes think, I don't know why I expect something different. I don't know why I expect someone who has shown the same things over and over again, and someone who is clearly not in a healthy state to make any changes. Why do I expect her to respond differently? Why do I do that? I do it though. I do it. I expect her to respond differently. I expect her to show up. I expect her to care. I expect her to have this overwhelming sense of a mama. And it's not there right now, y'all. This is not me trying to bash her. This is me, my heart's breaking for her. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been mad. And what I'm about to tell you will probably make you mad too. But my heart breaks because everything I learn and everything I'm about to share just shows how lost that connection of being a mom truly is there. And how dark it must be for her. But along with that comes, I am now full-time mom to our son. And I have to create boundaries, and I have to protect him, and I have to do what's best for him and his healing. And so what do you do when biological parent is a hindrance to the child's healing? Maybe that's what I'll title this. What do you do? What do you do? How do you have grace for that? How do you have boundaries for that? How do you walk through that? Y'all, I'm doing it one step at a time, and I'm leaning on the counselor. I'm leaning on our son's counselor so hard to know these things, because my heart is, we've told her she can have contact. The counselor's heart is, that's fine, but, and if, and when, then you have to take these actions to protect him, because he's in an amazing state right now, but he's also in a very fragile state right now, and his healing is more important. And I heard her say those things, and I thought, okay, that's good, you know, we'll monitor, we'll watch, right? But it didn't click with me until the moment that I thought everything can be out in the open, and everything can be forgiven, and everything can be, you know, turned around. The moment that came crashing down is when I saw what the counselor was talking about. When the biological parent is a cause of so much trauma, and then is a cause of hindrance to the child's healing, you gotta put boundaries up. So, long story short, the moment that I went, God, how do I show grace for this? Was when she made a statement that our child is lying. That our 8-year-old, just turned 8-year-old, has made everything up, and he exaggerates. Now listen, I thought I had been angry with her before. But when those words came out to me, along with a lot of other nasty words towards me, it was a new level of anger I've never felt. It was a new level of wanting to protect my son that I've ever felt. And then it was followed up with this new depth of heartbreak for her that I've never felt. To be that wrapped up in something that the only option you have left is to blame your child. How broken are you? How broken? And I realized in that moment that I needed to protect my stepson, and my husband obviously agreed, and the counselor had already said that to us, and then she really agreed. And then the saddest thing that happened was after those huge statements, she was being confronted about not communicating with him. That's how it started. It started with, don't tell him you're going to call if you're not going to call. Don't lie to him anymore. He's too smart for that. Please don't do these things. He's too smart for it. And then that's all she needed to go off. That's all she needed to feel like her back was against a wall and needed to place the blame somewhere else. And instead of blaming it on me like she normally does, she blamed it on our son. I try to keep these videos positive. I try to keep them like God focused and on the child focused. But y'all, this is hard. This is hard. How do you deal with a situation where this person's going to be around if they choose to be around, where they consistently just say nasty things about you, and then they start towing the line of being extremely unhealthy for your child who you have to protect? We already knew the unhealth was there to get him out of the environment, but now just for communication, the fact that we have to wonder, is she going to say something to him about him lying? Is she going to try to make him believe that these things didn't happen? Is she going to attack him? This fragile, beautiful child who he beats himself up more than anybody else ever could. Now we're starting to see why. How do you deal with someone like that and still show grace and still show love and still hold your head and your character high as a Christian? It's hard. I sobbed. I sobbed out of anger because I'm an angry crier. I sobbed out of heartbreak. The biggest thing I sobbed out of is that, what if our son knew what she had just told me? And that's where I ended it with her was, I will make sure he never sees this message. And I hope that you never get to the point where you even think about saying that to him, because it would crush him. And I ended it with, we're always here when you get happy and healthy and healed, and that's what we're praying for. And from that moment on, I had to put a boundary up that I would not be responsible or play any part in their relationship anymore. That it would 100% be on her if she was going to talk to her son. And to this day, she's not called. It's been several weeks. It's hard. How do you extend grace? I hope this doesn't get heard as like me just trying to puff us up and put her down. That is not it. That is not it. We pray for her every day. I can see a world where she can get healing and get healthy and be a part of his life. I can see it. I want it. But I have to share that to show for you guys who are in this spot, in this similar position where you have to put hard boundaries up, where it seems wrong almost. It seems wrong that I have to put a boundary up against a biological parent. It seems wrong. It is wrong. It should not exist like this. It should not be a world where you have to protect a child from their biological parent, from their flesh and blood. It should not exist like this. It shouldn't. But it does. So if I'm supposed to be kingdom-minded, how do I bring that into a scenario that's existing here that just sucks and just seems wrong? How do I do it? And y'all, you do it with the help of other people. You do it with the support of a counselor, of a professional who can help you make those judgment calls. You do it with the support of, your husband or your spouse. You do it with the support of your church. You do it with the support of prayers of going, guys, we need prayer for this. It's affecting him. It's affecting us. And how do we do this without looking like the bad guy? How do we do this without him thinking that we've cut her out of his life? How do we do this and protect his heart? And the only thing I've landed on is that it's not our job to protect his heart. It's not our job to get his healing. It's not our job. It's not our job for the truth to set in with him. It's our job to surround him with truth. It's our job to surround him with love. It's our job to, physically protect him and things that we know would harm him and hinder his healing, to stop those things. It's our job as a parent to do that, but we're not responsible for his healing. God is. We're not responsible for his heart. God is. I'm not responsible for his mom's heart. God is. And this whole time I've been trying to forcibly hold open this big open door for her of like, come on in, come on in, come on in, get healthy, come in. We love you, we want you healthy, he needs you, we want you here. And I've been using all this like strength and energy to like keep this space open for her. And after that last conversation, I so clearly felt like the Lord said, don't do that. It's not your job to hold the space open for redemption for her. The cross is doing that. The cross is holding that door open. She knows it's there. She's got to walk through it. Stop. All I was doing was enabling the cycle. I knew that if I messaged her and said, hey, you haven't called, it would tick her off enough that she would call. I was enabling this cycle again and again and again, and the Lord had to convict me of it. Hands off. Set the boundary. Set the boundary out of love. Set the boundary out of protecting our son. And then give it to God. How do you have grace for the unimaginable things? How do you have grace for someone who's done the unimaginable? How do you have grace for someone who will then try to blame the child? And truth be told, I'm not sure I have grace for it. I now have a boundary for it. I now have a healthy environment and a healthy stance with it that helps me to see it with a different perspective. And I'm hoping that that's the area, that's the platform that then when she's ready, we can cover her with grace. As of now, it's not my role to cover her with grace. I'm not going to cover her with the opposite, absolutely not. But there's boundaries in place. It's not a brick wall, it's a boundary. When she chooses to show up and to walk back in our lives, my prayer is that because we set this healthy boundary now, we can get some perspective while we're praying for her. And when that day, hopefully that day happens that she comes back, then we can shower her with grace and forgiveness and love. Until then, y'all, my number one is protecting my child. And it sucks. It sucks that we live in a world where we have to protect our children from their parents sometimes. It does. But I wouldn't be able to walk through it without my faith. I would not be able to walk through it without prayer. I wouldn't be able to walk through it without my son's counselor, without my husband. It wouldn't be possible. We'd be just as much of a mess. So I don't know. I don't have the answer here. I don't have a, what do you do when this scenario happens? I don't have it. I just have where I'm at right now, which is a full-time stepmama mom who is going against my nature to set boundaries against a biological parent. And it's hard, and the realization that it shouldn't exist slapped me in the face, but you got to keep going. There's another thought that keeps popping in my head of like, is this going to be what it's like? This is something biological parents may not understand. Step parents, I think you'll hear me on this. This is a thought that I have to battle every day. Is this going to be what our lives look like until our son is an adult? Are we going to have to deal with this from her? This back and forth, this off and on, this pattern until he's an adult? It can be a very discouraging thought, and I have to capture it. I'll probably make a video on that at another time, but in the meantime, let me know your thoughts on it. Have you had that thought? I feel like I can guarantee a step parent has had that thought, especially if you're one stepping into a full-time role, but there's still a biological parent lingering. I feel like you have thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know your struggles as a step parent. Again, I don't know much about blended families when it comes to the parents being involved. Right now, it's my husband, it's me, and it's my stepson. We don't have any other children yet. So I'm sure that will bring on a whole different place. But right now, this is where we're at. And this is very real, and it was impromptu, but I feel like I needed to share it because it's why I've been distant. Because I didn't know how to share. I'm angry at her. I'm heartbroken because of her. I'm trying not to get bitter. And I'm trying to have grace. I didn't know how to share those things without it coming across extremely negative. And then I realized that it's real. And I think if we could all share from a place that's very real, that's where we could actually help others. So that's my heart. So y'all, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. You're not alone. You're not alone in those thoughts. There's no thoughts that are going to have shame or guilt attached to them. This is a safe, real place. And I need to hear them. I need to hear them. So I love you guys. Keep your heads up. Keep your prayers going. Keep your perspective on how beautiful it is that you get to be a part of this child's life that you maybe would have never met before. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.